Hey everybody, and welcome to rabb1t's Ramblings, podcast 418. I don't have a new game news this time, just a sad life update about my eyes and some very sad news about my food money, and that's it for this time. So I don't remember how much I've mentioned about what's going on with my eyes, but the very short version is for the past 6 years, I've had issues where it's gotten kind of blurry pretty much all of the time. For those first few years, I thought maybe it was because I had really bad contacts. At the time, I had no money to buy new contacts, so I was wearing them on the average about 3 months. And these are weekly contacts, so they can go about a month without any issues, but beyond that they start to have issues, and then, once you're pushing into 3 months plus, they're not good. So for those first few years, I wasn't super worried about it, and I figured there was nothing I could really do about it. And then recently I had, 3 really bad sort of events that made me be like, okay, I really need to figure out if my healthcare can take care of this and figure out what's going on. Because basically, I had episodes where the vision got so bad that anything basically beyond my reach was completely blurry. And on 2 of those occasions, it was so blurry, I felt like the whole world was closing in on me, and I was having panic attacks like I do on very, very, very rare times for claustrophobia. So I was like, okay, we gotta go get this fixed. The short version was I went to the hospital because I was told that going to the hospital would get me a faster appointment time, which it did not. Basically, all it did was the hospital people said, yeah, it's probably your blood pressure. So that's when I started getting on blood pressure. That was quite a while ago now. But a few months after I had been on blood pressure, I'm like, yeah, my vision is still really blurry. This isn't helping my vision at all. And so I proceeded to get appointments to figure that out, which with my healthcare is like, hey, how's 4 months from now? And apparently I had to see my regular doctor before I could see an eye doctor. So that has been, most of the last year to finally get to see an eye doctor. But the good news, even though it was kind of what I feared would be the worst case scenario for getting better, is that I should be better in a few months. This is apparently a very common procedure they're doing to fix it, of 3 injections of medicine stuff into my eyeball. So that is not great, being awake and look over there while I poke you in your eyeball from the side. So no thank you, but yes, thank you to hopefully getting my vision back to normal. My vision is greatly improved after the first poking, but supposedly it's not until after the 3rd poking that it should be totally back to normal. Right now it's wavering around good to mid better. So, not quite what it should be, but not as bad as the bad times, so that is good. I guess the doctor's theory was that what happened was, way back then when I was not on blood pressure medicine, some kind of event happened in my eyeball, which basically, as I understand her description, is kind of like a heart attack in my eyeball. The blood vessels, I guess, got blocked up and clogged and got swollen and have been swollen, and areas have been damaged around the swelling areas. But like I said, apparently this is a fairly common thing that is very easily fixed by this procedure. She said they do this like 100 times a day, so that seems crazy. But apparently I should be all better in a few months, so I guess we will see. And then the very sad news is, for unknown reasons that are not my fault, I have been, hopefully just currently, disqualified for food benefits. So in a few days, I will have no money for food. And that is like, great, thanks. So the procedure goes twice a year. I get this packet of forms, and basically I just say no change, no change, no change, same, no change, no change. Mail the forms back. A few days later, when the forms get to the office, I get a text, and the text says, hey, we received your forms. If there's any other questions, we will contact you. And then some unknown amount of time, usually about 2 weeks later, I'll get approved because the social worker does whatever they do with the forms. But this year, I did that and got the notice on December 3rd. It was received. And then when we get to January 6th, when I'm supposed to have my next cycle of money, I notice I buy my food and it's still the same amount as, the day before minus what I got. And it's like, well, that's odd, but not completely unusual. There have been a few times where it was delayed by holidays and such, so I wasn't too worried. I check again on the 7th, and same thing. It is still down, no new money. So I go online and I look, and that's when I discover I have been disqualified for what they claim is not submitting my forms. But on that very same web page, at the top of the page, it says, forms received December 3rd. And there's this 4-step sort of tracker that is, forms are mailed to me, forms are received, and then the second 2 steps are things my social worker does, is process the forms, and then, it says approved or, not approved. And since it's still on step 2, that to me implied that my social worker had not done anything with the files for, at the point of this recording, nearly 6 weeks. And it's like, why? Why did they not do what they were supposed to do with my forms? And why am I being disqualified and told I didn't do what I was supposed to do because they didn't do what they were supposed to do with my forms? That doesn't seem fair or right. So, I don't know. I have literally no idea what's going on. Last week I sent 2 messages. Last week I called twice and left messages for my social worker. They did not pick up and they did not respond to my message. So I don't know, that's very unusual. And then I called the main office on Friday to see hey, my social worker hasn't done anything with my files for 6 weeks and they're not returning my calls. Have they left the office? Are they on vacation? And in all of these cases, why was my case not, handled by another caseworker while he was out? But I don't know. It took me 10 minutes to get my call answered, and to somebody who could supposedly help me. The person took down the information and they said, please hold, I'll transfer you to someone who could help. 15 minutes later, I'm disconnected from the call from their end, and it's like, okay, great. So I've just spent nearly half an hour waiting pretty much that whole time for somebody to help me, and then you just hang up on me? So I don't know. At this point, I am hoping that means, my story got through to whoever can supposedly help, and because at that point it was only a couple of hours before they closed, maybe, they didn't resolve whatever needed to be resolved or find out whatever they needed to find out, and maybe they will call me back Monday. But I'm only going to give them till about noon, and then I'll try the main office again to figure out what is going on. And if they either do not give me a good answer or they're like, oh, we don't know either, then I'm going to have to file a court appeal. And that's going to be probably a whole big stinky thing that's going to take a long time. And then it's going to be forever for my food to get back on track. So I am pretty horribly worried at this point about what is going on with my food. Dad did send me a bunch of money lately, so I won't starve, but every day I'm burning actual cash for food is money I'm burning that needed to be spent on bills. So it's gonna get real bad real fast after I spend the last, I think about $25 is what I have on my food balance at this point. I'm probably gonna have to start eating ramen and crap and stretching that out to just be oh, I can have a meal a day, and maybe I can stretch that out to a couple more weeks, but I am not going to be feeling good, and it's not going to go good after that. So I am very horribly worried about that. But that's really all I have for this time. So hopefully, maybe next podcast I can give an update on my eyes. I have a appointment, I think it's February 22nd. So next podcast would probably be before then, I think. But I will keep people updated on that and see how much improvement my eyes get with the pokings. And then, I don't know, hopefully by next podcast, everything will be sorted out by food, and they will just say, oh yeah, oops, he left and all of his accounts went into limbo, and we've moved them to different people, and now you'll be fine again. I don't know. I have a feeling it's probably not going to be that simple, but I am trying to stay hopeful, because if I don't, I'll just be completely stressed out and probably throwing up all the time from stress and worry, and then, what little food I would be able to eat would be thrown up, and it would probably be a whole terrible cycle. So I am trying to not think about it as much as I can, which is very difficult, because I'm kind of obsessive. It will just roll over in my head over and over and over and over thinking about it, and it's very difficult to not think about it. But I don't know what I'll talk about next time, but hopefully I'll see everybody then. Okay, thanks, bye.
You have been listening to Rabbit's Ramblings. If you would like to see the show notes or feed the bunny by sending a donation, you can find the show website at www.rabbit.com/podcast/rabbitsramblings.html. When you type Rabbit's Ramblings, don't use a space. If you would like to send me an email, you can do so at rabbit@rabbit.com. If you like my page, you can also post on Facebook at rabb1t's. You can follow me on YouTube at rabb1t's. I have a page on Patreon at www.patreon.com/rabbit, RABB1T. You can set up a monthly recurring subscription there at a price point of your choice. Be sure to put the number 1 in place of I anytime you type rabbit. Rabbit's Ramblings is copyright Eric Stryker, using a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Derivatives License, 2024.